Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Eastern Lariat podcast. Your show for news, notes, reviews, and opinions on the world of Japanese pro wrestling here on cagematch.net. I am your host, STRIGGA, and as always, I am joined by Dylan, if that is your real name, Dylan.
Yes, it is true. It's much more of my real name than STRIGGA is yours, I believe.
Yeah, I'm turning this around. Usually
That's
you do
true.
this.
Well, mine is very basic, so it would be kind of strange. Even though technically my Chinese name is my real name, like the name I was born with anyway.
That's right. Yeah.
But you know, this is very much my real name. It's part of my identity, STRIGGA. So you cannot take it away, no matter how much you try.
I am not intending to take it away. That was not my intention. I'm just asking questions here.
Listen, I get very defensive about these questions you ask about my personal life. But no. Yeah.
I may have another one that you could be defensive about. I don't know yet, but let's see.
I'm an open book.
How was CML's Aniversario?
Now this I also am very defensive about. To be honest, to be honest with you, if you want to hear super in-depth thoughts, I did record an episode of Lucha Talk about this with Microman Fever, covering the whole show. But for all of our wonderful listeners in the Eastern Lariat family, I will give a brief synopsis of it. The four-way match way over-delivered and was one of the best matches of the year anywhere, pretty much. Sure. Yeah, everybody should watch that. The rest of the show, I also really enjoyed the trios match, which was had the Soberano Jr. and Hermanos Chavez team taking on Templario, Neon, and Star Jr. That match ruled very much. This is Lucha style of match. The rest was either ho hum, and the main event was just very bad, like very very bad. And it's kind of sad. I'm trying to imagine like a comp for everybody out there. If you're not a fan of Lucha, like this would be like. Imagine if the main event angle for Wrestle Kingdom this year in New Japan was a non-title match between Naito and Chris Jericho in the main event. And it ended with Jericho posing with Orange Cassidy's shades on there. Or Naito posing with Orange Cassidy's shades would be more accurate, I suppose. And then the big payoff was that you got a 15-second clip on AEW where they lied and said Jericho won even though he didn't. So that's what happened. Like that's what the biggest show of the year and Lucha Libre was built to. So that was kind of a bummer. But the master match was amazing, and as a show overall, it was decent. I thought last year's was probably better top to bottom. But still, master match. Check it out, people. It was awesome.
Great that you got to do a show about that. Lucha Talk. That's always a destination to go to when you're doing a show, to talk about everything that's going down in Mexico. Yes.
It was way better than the Triple Mania show we did last month. I will say that.
Low bar.
It could not possibly be worse. I will tell you right now, nothing we will talk about on the show, and there's reasons to be negative about certain things, but nothing we talk about on the show was even in the same stratosphere as Triple Mania in terms of negativity. But I will say, personal stuff going on. I will bring another part of my life. I have a revelation for you, STRIGGA, right now. Something we didn't even talk about on the pre-show. I got a new internet set up.
Oh wow!
I've decided to break free. Well, I mean, I would have done this years ago if it was up to me. But more accurately, I finally convinced Danny and Ken to break free from the cable company. We moved to the fully digital, the streaming, the 5G, whatever, like all that crap is now going on in this household or this apartment, whatever you want to call it, even a townhouse. But the things have gone well so far. I've had no issues or no step down. It says more about the wonderful cable company known as Spectrum that I used before, which was not. There was a lot of difficulties and a lot of high prices that was far too much for us to pay anymore. And they were very nice. They tried to keep us to stay, try to beg us to stay pretty much by the end. But we could not afford it. So we had to move on to this new setup we have. So now we're in a different zone, a different layer, a different wavelength on the Eastern Lariat and all of my podcasts going forward that I'm on. And hopefully it's enjoyable for both you and the listeners out there with no interruptions or negative responses to be had.
Let's hope so. That sounds great. I'm lucky that my internet setup is just working out for years now. We really barely had any trouble when I was at my place. We usually have some trouble recording when I'm at my parents' place because for whatever reason, the companies are unable to bring a solid internet connection to the land side area of Germany. It's unfortunate. But we are here. We're talking about pro wrestling, talking about pro wrestling from Japan. And specifically, Dylan, we are talking about All Japan Pro Wrestling and their Oudou Tournament that just ended actually today, as we're recording on the 22nd of September, a public holiday in Japan. There is another one actually on Monday, and All Japan Pro Wrestling ran the early slot in Korakuen Hall because the later slot was held by Shuto, so they had an MMA show there. They ran at 11:30 and drew a sold-out house of 1,400 and what did they make? 1,473 fans for the finals of the Oudou Tournament. But before we go to today's show, Dylan, what was your overall impression of this tournament? What did you like? How did you come away from this Oudou Tournament?
Well, first of all, the fact that Shuto is taking place here, that's a big win for long-time Satoru Sayama fan, Hideo Kojima, who talked about his love of wrestling recently. I had to put that up. I freaked out a little bit when I saw him talking about it, to be honest. If you don't know Hideo Kojima, he is the designer of many games, but most prominently Metal Gear Solid. He was the creator of that, which is a very, very, very major game series in mine and many people's lives. So he talked about the Dump Matsumoto show a bit and was praising how there was no AI or CGI or any of that nonsense. And was talking about how he was a longtime fan of both the original Tiger Mask Sayama and Mighty Inoue, which I noted on our Twitter. Back then, it's kind of rare that a New Japan, like somebody would watch New Japan and All Japan instead of it being kind of a tribalistic mentality, which was so prominent back then as they were so separated. So Kojima, he was trying to break barriers even back then as a wrestling fan. And now, All Japan trying to break barriers with this Oudou tournament.
I have to make a correction actually before you go to the tournament. There is one holiday actually that is officially on the 23rd, so on Monday. It's Shubun no Hi. It's the day, the autumnal equinox day, but it is celebrated on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. So happy holidays to the Japanese here. And so this tournament, Dylan, started on September 14 in Nagoya with an early upset, one that they often do, I would say, or promotions often do when you have an elimination tournament like this. The champion goes out in the first round, so you get to decide who is going to challenge him after the tournament ends. From there, they went to Hamamatsu and to Osaka for two smaller shows. Then Shinkiba first ring with the second round of the tournament, and of course, the Korakuen Hall show that I just mentioned. What did you take away from this tournament?
Well, I think it was very nice of them to utilize, to go with the winner. How it was to jump away was a positive surprise, I would say. Yeah. Once we got to the final four, and I covered every match of this tournament up until the final, which took place a couple of hours ago. I covered that on the Patreon, patreon.com/Eastern Lariat. it wasn't that much of a surprise to me that Ayabe won. Like once you went that far with him, I had to concede there was a chance they would just go all the way with him. But
let me quickly go in there. When we first talked about this tournament and we looked at possible winners, Yuma Anzai was still the Triple Crown champion. And we were trying to figure out who would be a good opponent for him. And we went to Jun Saito or Rei Saito. There would be good opponents for him. But once Yuma Aoyagi took the title, I think the thinking for most observers changed as well. Not necessarily saying that all of them eyed Ayabe as a potential winner, but it makes sense for a title run, for Yuma Aoyagi's title run to be specific, to have a new challenger at first, or as the second challenge. He first had Miyahara, but now he's going to have a new challenger for a title defense that should really not be up for high debate, because I mean Ayabe is good, but I don't think he's ready yet to carry the company. So Aoyagi and Ayabe is a fresh match for the Triple Crown. Good decision on All Japan's part.
Yeah, it's just something fresh and interesting, and you need that going in there. I definitely think it was a surprise to have him win, but one that, they've done a great job of, I said this in the Patreon before even the finals happened, they've done a great job of really grooming Ayabe to really get to the top level in a very natural way, even in a relatively short period of time. You had the big win over Kento in the Carnival. You come out with this new look, new music, blah, blah, blah. He's a part of the faction. You tell an interesting story with him trying to win the title for Elpida now as well. Like, gets a revenge on Aoyagi for beating Anzai. You could do some good stuff there. And maybe set up a storyline for Aoyagi as well going forward to kind of go through that group if you would like.
And not only that, he also lost to Yuma Aoyagi just 2 months ago in a #1 contendership match, after which Yuma Aoyagi took the title from Anzai.
That's right. Yeah, another good continuation. Again, very logical booking here, even with a bold choice to have a winner here. I really like how they set up the tournament booking-wise. Otherwise, I think, you got the two guys at the end, I think, gained a lot. I thought Dan had a great showing to get the win here. Him versus Honda was like the best match of the tournament to me, in my opinion. I thought it was like pretty clear, like until the final, or like final day, of course. The rest of the tournament, there was some good for sure, but this is not something I would say there was no plethora of match of the year candidates to say the least in this tournament.
Absolutely correct.
There was a couple I liked, that you could point to. I would say on night 2 you had Kento and Hideki in the main event, which was good.
That's my match of the tournament.
Oh, match of the tournament. Oh, okay. Yeah. I like that match too. So good stuff there. I like it. Yeah, like match of the tournament, Hideki and Kento, and that was a very rare and unique matchup too, I thought.
Absolutely. I mean, if this had been in front of a hotter crowd, maybe it would have been talked about more. But I really, really liked the way they worked. I will always be a fan of these Hideki Suzuki matches where he tries to lure in his opponent, and it was all about Miyahara trying to escape from everything that Hideki Suzuki tried to knot him into, and Miyahara in the end did. So that I really liked.
That was great. Yeah, I really like that match too. That would probably be my number 2 on that end too. So yeah, I agree with you for sure. I think it's kind of a little underrated on there. Kento's
definitely the Honda and Dan Tamura match was very, very good as well. It was great for these two that they got to headline the show. It was a small show in Shinikiba First Ring, but I mean, you had Kento Miyahara and Joel Redman, which, I mean, not because of Redman, but it was a Kento Miyahara match, and they put Honda and Tamura on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. A great run for Tamura getting the win over Ashino, who was somebody that I thought could be a contender in the tournament, and clearly they don't agree. Like all Japan does not want to allow something like that. But to me, again, it sucks, and I feel really bad because his run is so sad actually, because he was right there to get his big moment, and it got taken away from him due to injury, literally at the worst possible time, and then it passed him by. and like now he can't get it. Like they, he can't get it back. Like it's impossible now. Like too many people have come up, and they just decided, look, like we have to move forward. And unfortunately, I think that they probably see Tamura as somebody with some upside, and I think Tamura, he has more upside as a heavyweight, in my opinion, than a junior.
Yeah, I actually agree with that, and it's going to be interesting how they treat all the guys in the real world tag league. We'll talk about that a bit here.
I can't wait for that.
But for right now, about Den Tamura, he is challenging Naoki Doi for the junior heavyweight title on the next tour on October 12th. That match is set. I don't know if I missed something. Did I miss him challenge for that? Did he challenge after Hikaru Sato's match? I'm not sure actually.
I swore that I would never watch it after I saw the reviews of that match. I will not believe what I read. Oh, you watched it?
I did. Yes, the match really sucked. It was a prolonged comedy segment. Yeah.
I refuse to believe these two were in a match like that. I'm pretending that it didn't happen. So if that happened, you may be right, or they may be right. Maybe he challenged afterwards. I don't know. But what I was going to say about Tamura, I think that match with Honda kind of proved it. The thing is, in the junior division, he's like the power guy. Like he's always kind of being that guy. And I liked his run earlier in the year. I was the one banging the drum that his run was kind of underrated as a junior champion. But I also like him even better being an underdog. Like I think that kind of plays more into his natural proclivities. And we saw that in the Honda match where he could really rise up against him and feel like a guy that the fans can rally around a little bit more. Because I think that was kind of missing with him as champion, even though I loved a lot of his matches. When he won the title, he was more of an underdog type of guy last year, and that's when the crowd really got behind him big, and everybody remembers that. But he never was able to get that back. But now, if you put him in the heavyweights, I think that really plays into a lot of his strengths as an in-ring worker, and I would like to see more of that avenue for him explored ultimately. But keeping him in the junior division, I guess I get that too. Only because right now the junior division has even less depth than the heavyweight. So they need people, But I kind of feel, it would be kind of a bummer that he would beat Ashino and then just lose the door afterwards. Where it felt like that was like the biggest win of his career. And then it's like, you're back to where you were before.
Back to the juniors. I mean, on one side, I don't think it's bad that they have guys that can work both divisions because they need that. Because of the depth of the
tag leagues, they're showing they're more open to that now than they've been in years past. With what we'll talk about the tag league, like that division is is littered with junior talent that we might not have seen. I mean, I remember banging the drum that Sato should move up to have a heavyweight run at some point, and they're now finally getting into it like all these years later. So like they're showing that they're more open minded to that. I think now.
They even showed it before they announced the talent for the tournament, because they already had announced that Anzai and Rising Hayato will be challenging Musashi and Seki Yoshioka for the All Asia Tag Team title, and I can't wait for that match. That sounds so great on paper. That's one day after the show that I just mentioned with the junior title on it. So we have October 12th, junior title, Naoki Doi versus Den Tamura, and World Tag Team title, Jun and Rei Saito against Hokuto Omori and Kuma Arashi. Then on the 13th, from Kiramese Numazu, WH's former hometown, I think. All Asia Tag Team title, Musashi and Seki Yoshioka against Yuma Anzai and Rising Hayato. That is the title matches that they have set up for the next tour.
Yeah, they set things up
so far. We will probably have on the Kurken Hall show on the 22nd, we'll probably have the Triple Crown match between Aoyagi and Renayama.
Right. But yeah, they set things up well throughout the tournament. And also, I liked Cyrus's matches at the tournament as well.
Too.
Yes,
I thought the one with Rei Saito was really good.
I've always been a Cyrus respector, even when you doubted me on there and doubted the great man known as Cyrus. But I liked it. I liked there was a good comment on Cage Push. I don't know which match he had on it, but it was one of his matches, I believe, where somebody said something to the effect of, All Japan is the place that you could have a match like this. Like, like no other company is going to have a Cyrus versus a Rei Saito on their show. Just two Goliaths going at it. Like normally they try to put the big guy versus the small guy, or maybe even two smaller guys. Here it's like you've got the giants, and you've got a good roster of them with the Saitos, him. Like they've pushed Davy Boy kind of as a big guy in the company. Ayabe's another big guy, even though with him we'll talk about him when we talk about the final, but they have a lot of big guys in this company, and it gives you something different following this place than it does pretty much any of the other companies, which are a little bit more homogenized, in my opinion. So I
was
totally
just going to say, lots of companies. We talk about, not lots of companies, but definitely New Japan and Pro Wrestling Noah, they try to serve every master. Like the juniors, the big guys, the smaller guys. They try to serve everybody. But with All Japan Pro Wrestling, they have this niche carved out for them with the big dudes that clash there. What did you think about Davy Boy in general in this tournament?
He's just the same as always. I like him well enough in terms of like execution of moves is good. Like, in terms of his base talent. He's just not very interesting to watch, nor is he able to convey anything in an interesting way. That's always been kind of my knock on him, even back like to the way back. When he was still in WWE.
I think his facial expressions. I don't want to say they look fake, but he has a hard time conveying real emotions with this face.
Yeah. I mean, and he's a guy we both pegged as a potential favorite to win the tournament before it started, and I thought it would have made a lot of sense for him to do that. But I'm glad they kind of went away from that, to be honest. I think he's a fine guy to have in your middle of the pack, and if he is against the right guy, he can deliver. We saw it against Kento in the Champion Carnival. That was one of the better matches of the tournament. If you have a charisma explosion type of guy against him, that can bring everything you take, and he can bring his side and hold up his end of the bargain. And if the other guy is very interesting and fiery and charismatic, that can work. But if he's just wrestling normal guys, like he kind of was in this tournament, he's a fine guy to have, but not somebody I would really consider a main eventer, even though they're kind of like, they're doing this thing with him and Kento right now, and they're in the tag league, obviously, but they teased it even before that. And we'll see if that gets something out of him, but I just think he's a very bland guy who is a talented in-ring performer. I mean, the guy's been wrestling since he was 8 years old, so it's no surprise that he's technically proficient, and he works well as a power guy. There's just not a lot there beyond that, I would say.
Yeah. They brought in Joel Redman from England. He got to beat Yuko Miyamoto in the first round. Miyamoto replaced Zuwama. So Redman got to face Kento Miyahara in the second round in Shinkiba, where he lost, was out of the tournament. I think he was okay, but it's surely not a guy that I think will be brought back very soon, because much like you said about Davy Boy, his matches were all right, but he didn't really bring anything across that the All Japan fan, I think, will get attached to this guy.
And he was here before, and that's the thing. I like him well enough as a worker. Again, in ring wise, he's very technically proficient. Yeah. And a very professional wrestler, like with no pun intended on that. He's a very professional guy. You can put him against anybody and do good things with. And I thought him, he worked very well with what they asked him to do. But ultimately, I like him well enough, and he's a guy that's fine to have on these cards. And I really like because I'm a big fan of the workers that work the camp style and like the UK, because that's something totally unique to the scene and gives it its identity rather than the traditional Brit Res stuff, which I've long been a critic of, how just not unique it is at all. But I think the camp stuff with people like Dean Allmark that's big and all that stuff too, I really respect that a lot. So I do want to say that right away. But let's just be honest about it. He's been gone for years now from All Japan. He had his run before, and it was good. Like, if you look back to his matches, he was good. But there was really... you never want to just make a sweeping statement and say nobody. but very few people were clamoring and saying, "Hey, man, I wish they'd bring Redmond back." Like that sentiment was not shared very often in the last 5 years, or however long it's been ultimately. And if he were to go again, I don't think it would be any kind of big loss. But if he keeps around as a mid card guy, I think he's fine and a good worker.
Sure.
But that's it.
And about the camp style, it's not only that you respect it a lot, it's very, very well respected in Japanese pro wrestling in general.
Yeah.
And it usually for those guys coming in, if you work that style, you'll get something out of the crowd. And he did get something out of the crowd with Miyahara, but again, that's Miyahara as well. It was fine, like you said. If he's going to continue to be a mid card guy, that is all right. Yeah. That is the foreigners that we had in the tournament. Did anyone else surprise you?
Just to throw it back to you, do you agree with what I said about Ashino? Like with the early loss, and it feels like his time has kind of passed him by, like as a main player.
Yeah, just look at how they used him in the last couple of weeks. Always, usually in undercard situations with Kuroshio. Yeah, in those comedies, 6-man, 8-man tags. He was in the 10-man tag undercard on the final card. He's getting a tag team run with the Dentamura in the tournament. That's fine. But they coming back, they took away his stable. He was basically lost, was attached to Jiro and Tachibana because of their Wrestle One days. Now teaming with a junior heavyweight guy where, technically,
who he just lost to.
Yeah, I was just going to say, technically, Dentamura would be the fall guy in their team, but is he really? Is he really going to be the fall guy, or is Dentamura the more promoted one in this tag team right now? So a very unfortunate situation for Shotaro Ashino, definitely. I agree that I think the ship has sailed for him as a top guy in All Japan. And like you said, it's not his fault. He really never
that's the sad
got the
part.
shot.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought up the stable because I had that same thought about Honda a lot in this tournament. Like so many times I thought I miss my GOA Honda. Like when I watched him, and I miss it even more for Ashino. Like, and I think that breaking up that group was one of those. Like Honda's got a good role. Clearly he's growing in this tournament. He did a good job. Maybe this feels like kind of like a pushback from the carnival where everyone was like, "Damn, Honda didn't get anything in the carnival." He had like 4 points or something overall, and everyone was like, "Man, why was he so low in this block?" So it felt like they were kind of readjusting themselves from that. But I just think back to that group, and there was so much upside with them. The gimmick was great with the shades, like great looks all around. And now you just see these guys going in there, and Ashino, great worker, nobody doubts that, but just totally lost. Like he's just floating, like going nowhere. Honda as a worker, and I guess we can kind of parlay this since he's one of the main guys in the tournament. He did a good job. Don't get me wrong, especially when it counted most. The last 2 nights, he really showed up as he felt like the dude that the tournament was kind of built around, even though he lost in the end. And that was great. But then there was parts earlier in the tournament where he leaned, the match with Aoyagi was like such a disappointment, in my opinion.
Definitely.
And he leaned into this goofy stuff at the end. And I really worry, it's kind of the thing we've seen with Aoyagi a little bit himself. And I think we didn't really talk about him that much, but his run so far has not been well received to this early point, a month in, and he's in a tough spot.
Before we go to Honda and Aoyagi, I still have one more point about the stable and about Shotaro Ashino.
Yes.
They broke up this stable for no good reason. It's not like anything happened. True. They just one day decided, okay, Good Year of Anarchy, that's gone. They could have done so much more with that. They could have done a breakup or whatever that would have gotten Ryukyu Honda more over with the crowd, but they just decided it's gone, and that was once again a red flag in consideration for Shotaro Ashino and his run.
And that could have benefited both of them so much, just to have a fiery brawl, you know, like between the two. It's like something happens, like somebody betrays somebody, and you know, Honda's had enough, like, and like, you know, he's pissed at Ashino for getting injured. Whatever you want to do, like to set up some kind of rivalry. To not do that, like you said, it's just a big red flag that they didn't even care enough to have like any kind of angle coming out of that, and it totally disappeared. It was like one of the Jake Lee factions in the past just breaking up randomly, and you know, Jin never had a big angle coming out of it, breaking up ultimately, and that's kind of what that felt like. And it's unfortunate because it had so much upside, and they were so good together, you know, and that's a shame. But I thought they were both better than they are now, but nevertheless.
Yeah. On the topic of Yuma Aoyagi, I agree that his run has not been well received. He brought a lot of pressure onto himself going to Tokyo Sports and saying that he wants to avenge what he has done to the company by losing to Katsuhiko Nakajima. And the title change against Yuma Anzai was a pretty good match. The first defense against Kento Miyahara, it has now, it's very interesting, it has risen to a rating of current total rating of 8.06.
Okay.
When it first happened, that rating was lower. I remember that rating being in the 7.4 region.
And I personally agree with that more than the 8.
Me too. So that might sometimes, with these guys that are really beloved by fans online, sometimes these guys get a point extra on their ratings.
Yeah,
on their match
that
ratings.
happens a lot. Yeah,
that happens a lot, and I think this might be a case of just that, because I think we talked about the Miyahara and Aoyagi match, did we? I think we did.
Yeah. And my point on that was basically they've had so many, and this can't compare to last year's that they had.
Exactly. It was on the lower end of their matches. Still a match that I would rate 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
Nothing special at all happened in this match. So really, a title run that's not off to a good start, and definitely not to the start that Yuma Aoyagi wanted to have for himself. But then again, they booked him to lose in the first round of the Oudou Tournament, and for the remainder of the tour, he was in comedy tags on the undercard.
And that's the point I was making about Honda. He's like Aoyagi is like the top of the list of a guy, and I feel like we made this point before on him, where he is great at everything. And like, there's no doubt. I didn't love the Kento match for reasons, but regardless, there's no doubt about his skill level. But he's also great at comedy. And then you kind of run into a problem when you're too good at it and you lean into it too much. And then that kind of puts you in a certain slot. And he's kind of falling into that trap right now where he's leaning into the comedy, which he is good at. Like, he's a very entertaining guy. And multiple. Remember at the end of the tournament when he came out in the Karate Kid stuff at the end? It was awesome. You know, or like I remember even in the like the All Together show when he was teamed with Ken-O and he broke through the fist to like goof around. It was awesome. I think it was Okada was the third member of the team, but it was very funny how that happened. But he's just great in so many ways, but he leans too much into the comedy stuff right now. And the big problem with him is look who he's following. Like the previous Triple Crown reign, he was so great. And it felt like, even though, like the way they ended it, I really have no problem with Aoyagi winning and giving Anzai a mountain to climb over, a guy he can't beat. I think that's good booking on his paper. The problem is Anzai was so damn great that nobody wanted to see this title reign end ultimately, because it felt like he was giving himself, every match he would refuel the gas tank on his title reign, where it's like, no, like, it's Anzai, he can keep going, and maybe this could go the distance, maybe this could be a legendary title reign, because that's where he was headed, like the quality that Anzai was having in his title reign. And Aoyagi now needs to match that, or at least gracefully follow it. And to do the Kento match, and I think I made this point before, I definitely would have not been had that be the first defense, just because there's so much history with each other. That should have been something built to, in my opinion. That could have been the end of the year title match, not right away. And it just kind of ended up feeling, I think this is why I was down on this a little bit, even though I agree with you, 7 out of 10 is about where I would put it overall. But it just felt like, hey, let's get this title match out of the way. Like let's get Kento out of the way at first, and we can move on to other stuff that Aoyagi can do. And that's not a good way to start off. So it's very short in his reign, like very early in his reign now. And if this match with Ayabe delivers and is a huge banger, then all of those fears will go away, obviously, because that would really speak well towards Aoyagi, in my opinion, more than anything else. And there's a potential that could be very well happen. So it's not like I'm shutting down Aoyagi as champion right away. It's just it's early on. He didn't get off to the best start with that and the early loss and the comedy stuff after. This is going to be his chance to really put his mark on this title reign. Like whatever happens with Ayabe, again, if he delivers big and this turns into this epic, great match, I think that's going to speak well of Aoyagi and keep us going forward in a good position going forward. Because even when we looked at the World Tag League, he felt like the odd man out, like going into it. And I mean, they found something, which is cool. Like what they did was cool, but it's not like it was well planned, or anything like that. It was like, it felt like everyone else had partners that was like, oh crap, who's he gonna team in? Like who's Aoyagi teaming with? And, and it worked out on paper, but we'll see. But it just felt like he was the odd man out there.
Yeah, it really feels like that. It feels weird right now, thinking about that he's Triple Crown champion. You'd think that he beats Red Ayabe on the 22nd in Kurikan. Then, realistically, who could he face? I mean, he lost to Honda in the first round of the Oudou Tournament, but Honda just had his title match against Anzai in July. And let's go through Honda's year a bit, Dylan, to really think if Honda is ready for another title shot. So we're not going to the beginning of the year, but starting with the Champion Carnival in April. So it starts out for Honda with a 2-minute 12 seconds loss to Lord Crew. In his second match of the Carnival, he beats then Triple Crown champion Yuma Anzai. He loses all of his matches until the final day where he defeats Rei Saito. A really weird run. Even weirder, and I had actually completely forgotten about that, but on May 29, he faced EC3 for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship.
That was weird.
So then he cashed in his title shot against Yuma Anzai that he had quote-unquote won in the Champion Carnival on July 20. Lost to Yuma Anzai, was Anzai's final title challenge. Then he went on to the tag title challenge with Ren Ayabe. That also was heavily about comedy because he was eating the Saito brothers sweets, which was really fun. Led to a good title match. And now we had a situation where he once again came close to actually being in a position where he could win something. So he had title matches, but he always lost these. Now, once again, he got to beat the champion. He also got to beat Dentamura and Kento Miyahara, but he once again came short in the final. So my question here is, do you really want this guy to come short yet again in 2024?
It's the problem with the roster. There's just not a lot of depth. They tend to think like that, where you need guys like this challenging over and over. And it's good. That's another reason why I think Ayabe won, because now you've automatically expanded the future for this title reign, where you get a new guy that is a capable challenger, and you're hoping to establish him at that tier. Maybe not the tip-top level, but at least a guy that you could put in a Triple Crown match in the future to try to expand that, which they're trying to do. And I appreciate that. But ultimately, still, though, there's just not a lot of guys. Like, there's no real better option than Honda to challenge for the title right now against Aoyagi, other than Kento, who already did it, and Ayabe, who won the tournament. There's really nobody else that's a good challenger. Unless it's an outsider of some sort.
Yeah. Do they have the big show again on December 31st?
I believe they do, but I don't have it right in front of me. I may be wrong. Maybe I made that
So
up in my head.
I'm just looking it up. I guess they do. Let's see.
Yeah.
Mm,
Well, I know one thing for sure. Hokuto isn't going to be challenging for the title in that arena.
Koto Omori. What I
What? That's all you need to say. What?
what is I mean, he's supposed to be the Generalissimo. We talked about that last time. He lost to Davey Boy Smith Jr. in a very unspectacular match in the Oudou Tournament. Now beat one of the Saitos. I think he beat Jun. Yeah, Ray was in the semifinal. He beat Jun with a frog splash and is now challenging for the tag title. I mean, they built that up nicely throughout the tournament. That Jun first lost to Cyrus, then Ray Saito avenged the loss, beating Cyrus. Now Hokuto Omori once again beat another Saito, so getting the title shot there. That was built up nice enough. But this entire group, it's dudes. It's dudes being in a group.
Makes no sense. It was a problem at the start of all of this. Like, why are these people in a group together? Ultimately, especially led by Hokuto. So I don't hate the talent level of these people. It's just weird, like the group ultimately, and that's kind of where we're at now. It's kind of a fun. I mean, just the visual gag of it is like kind of fun, I suppose, but it's not. Again, let's just put it this way: it's not a main event level act right now with Omori. To say the least.
That is correct, and I am right now not seeing a show at the end of December for All Japan.
No big show.
Hmm.
They've lost confidence, even though all they do is sell out.
Yeah, the last show they have scheduled for 2024 right now is the Real World Tag League final, Hurricane Hall, December 8th.
That's it. Just in the year, right there, whole month, taking the rest of the month off.
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm sure there will be another show.
There must be something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that's really gonna happen, but we'll see where they go. Fact of the matter though, back to the point about the title. Honda is the logical next contender, and maybe they'll be able to use this tag league to set up some different people for him going forward. Because I don't think Honda should win the belt right now either. They need to kind of figure out. And that's kind of an interesting thing too. Like they're gonna have to figure out the next step in this Aoyagi title reign. Like who will be able to take it from them? It's kind of a tough spot right now for the company.
Yeah. So let's look at the blocks, or at least the block that he is in. He is in with Fuminori Abe. You mentioned his tag team partner. They will go against Hikaru Sato and Yuko Miyamoto. Those are not possible challengers. Zuwama and Hideki Suzuki, you can throw one of these in every time. Cyrus and Hartley Jackson. Cyrus, maybe?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be up for that.
Kuroshio, Tokyo Japan, and Seigo Tachibana. Nope. Then we have Honda and Ayabe. And Kento Miyahara and Davey Boy Smith Jr. They've done Kento. Davey Boy. Could be.
Yeah.
Could be one.
Yeah, I think it would make sense for him to get one.
Yeah. They did also face in the Champion Carnival, if I'm not mistaken.
So
I think Aoyagi beat him there.
So we've got him in there as a potential challenger.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at his block right now. I would say, because I mean we're under the assumption Ayabe and Honda will be the next challengers, so I would take them out. You could have Davey Boy, Cyrus, and one of Suwama and Hideki. Like they could set up for. So that's three different challengers if you wanted there. So that's something to at least build.
I don't think they'll set up three. I think Abe is going to take lots of losses here.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I think Aoyagi will probably take one or two. I guess one.
Yeah. That would be better. I like that would be better, honestly. Like your way. I hope they do it your way, because like I said, I would like to see him. The thing is, another issue with him. Last year when he won the belt, it felt like this great thing. Like when he won it, it felt like they built up to it so well. He avenged the company, winning the Triple Crown from Nagata. He had this great title reign, and they just they really didn't handle him well. Like they didn't have him lose gracefully. They basically just said, okay, we're shifting everything to our new toy, Nakajima, and you are forgotten about. In fact, he lost to Hokuto Omori at the end of last year in the tag league final, immediately after the title win, and he really didn't do anything for a long time. Like the first half of the year, he was not like having this great run to lead up to winning the title. They kind of got him back on track with the number one contendership match and then winning the title. That's great. I think they definitely could have built up to him getting it back a lot better than they actually did. If you look at his run for the first half of the year before he won the Triple Crown, I think they could have handled it a lot better.
Yeah. They surely could have done that. Just to be comprehensive here, going to Real World Tactic Block A, we have the Saito brothers, Musashi and Seki Yoshioka, Yuma Anzai and Rising Hayato, Daisuke Sekimoto and Kengo Mashimo return to All Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yes.
Great stuff here. Hokuto Omori and Kuma Arashi and Tsutaro Ashino and Dan Tamura. And much more in comparison to Block B. We have junior heavyweights in this block of the Real World Tag League. So that was what you said. Usually you'd think that All Japan, with this thin roster, is a company that would think about merging the All Asia Tag Team title with the World Tag Team title and creating a Tag Team Triple Crown. But I don't think that they will ever do that, not because the All Asia Tag Team title is not because they need that title for their company, but I just think that they like to have it around, and to have it around because it is the oldest title that they have a lineage they can go back to the 50s. I think that is just a very important part for All Japan Pro Wrestling to have this history. And it's not always focused, but whenever it's focused like this here, where they have junior heavyweights fighting for it, the All Asia Tag Team title is really a nice tool to have.
Yeah, the All Asia titles are. I mean, it's not like it's a main event title, but I definitely consider it like if they try to get rid of the All Asia titles, I would hate that. Like I would think that's a really poor idea in general, like totally wiping away like your lineage unnecessarily, in my opinion. It's gone through different shapes over the years, though. There were times where it was kind of the junior titles. I remember, 12 years ago or so, you had the junior stars really have an All Asia title run, and it turned into the junior tag titles, like unofficially. Before that, it was kind of like your mid card, like up and comers, Kobashi and Kikuchi tag titles. So it's gone through different phases, and they've kind of went back and forth on it in recent years. But now they've got this junior run back again with these two. I think it's great. I think that's the best usage of it in the modern era. And I think they're doing a great job with it specifically. I'm totally excited to see Yoshioka against all of these people. Like, I think he's going to do great in this tournament. And Musashi's really stepped up since they formed this tag team as well. So I think they're a great team to be in the tournament. And they're the most exciting team in A block outside of Sekimoto and Kengo, of course, which I'm so hyped that Kengo Mashimo is back in All Japan. And teaming with Sekimoto as well. A veteran hand, Sekimoto can still get it done when the time calls for it. If you put him in a big type of match, he's going to really come through for you. And Mashimo's just great. So I can't wait to see what Anzai does against these guys too. I think that's going to be very helpful in this tournament as well. A really nice block at the end, and it's all gonna hinge on who the mystery team is. I would say as well.
Really weird stuff. I was asked by a couple of people who I think it could be, and I really don't have a proper answer, because just look at all the foreign talent that All Japan Pro Wrestling has booked this year, beginning from what's his name? Regal's son,
Charlie Dempsey.
Charlie Dempsey, the NXT guy, then going to Cyrus, going to Davey Boy, Joe Redman, Jack Kennedy, Hartley Jackson. They have a bunch of dudes, Lord Crew. it could really be anyone.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be a foreign team, personally.
It doesn't have to be a foreign team. No.
Yeah, I was just saying, like this spot seems like whoever that is probably winning the block, in my opinion. Like, I think that they're the favorite, like, pretty clearly. I mean, the Saito brothers are the champion. Yeah. Yeah, DDT team would be good. I was thinking, like, I mean, you could do a lot of different things with this. Like, ultimately, it's really like a weird state of the scene at the moment. Maybe they can bring back the big guns. Like, finally, Zeus makes his return.
I was just recently thinking about Zeus and Bodyguard when I looked at the Osaka Pro cards, and it's been quite some time, and Zeus would be such a nice addition to this roster right now.
Yeah, he could slot in as a perfect like fit for where what they would need from him. I also wouldn't. A DDT team would be fine as well. Like, it'd be good, probably, depending on who they brought in. You could go in a lot of different directions depending on who you would want to bring in from there. Maybe you could always go with a GLATE team. Sure. You never know. Like, will he or won't he Nakajima do something on here? That was kind of my pitch on the Patreon. I'm about to hit y'all with something crazy, like a fantasy booking thing, because I was thinking when I watched the tournament, Kento, as great as he is, and I'm going to pose this question to you, Strigga, actually, before I get into my idea in my answer. When I say who the ace of All Japan is, who would you say that was, or is right now?
Right now,
yes.
I mean, overall, still Kento Miyahara.
Yes, I think some people would say Anzai, but I think I also agree that Kento is the dude. Ultimately, like, he still is. Even though Anzai, I love him. Like, I love his title reign. I like him better than Kento, me personally. But I think overall, Kento is still the top dog of the company, like the protagonist of All Japan. When you think of All Japan, he is the guy. But he's at a weird point now where him winning the title doesn't feel right for him at the moment. His character is like pretty much set in stone. Like, he's been this guy for a long time. There's really no change in anything he's done. They've tried off and on to kind of go back to the Next Stream era, with him and Yuma and all this other stuff. They've done that a lot, and it really feels like there's just no real avenues for his current character to take. Would you agree with that in the current system of All Japan?
Yeah, I would agree.
So, I was thinking, like, maybe it's time to shake his character up a little bit here at All Japan. Like, do something way out of the box, totally different than you would think on there. And my idea was that, again, this is all very unresolved right now. I'm not saying it's likely or anything like that, but this is just an idea I had. I want to see what you guys think of it. Nakajima invades All Japan. Like, a total... Well, it's not really a shoot. It's like, he runs through the crowd, wrecks stuff. He's always ruining shows. Like, 3 shows in a row, he comes in and ruins stuff. Nakajima's just trying to ruin All Japan. Like, he's like, you won't book me, I will book myself, and do everything you can. He ruins the company for the best he can. And then suddenly, Shima joins him, and this, of course, a GLATE aficionado. Shima and Nakajima running roughshod over All Japan. And they do an angle where Nakajima rips on Aoyagi, and it's like he's a fake champion because I beat his ass so easy last year. So they destroy him. There's an angle in the ring where Shima and Nakajima have wrecked everybody, and they're just killing Aoyagi in the ring. And suddenly Kento finally runs down to save his old Next Stream partner. And he turns around and knocks out Aoyagi with the blackout knee. The third man, Kento Hogan, with the KWO shirt underwords here. The KWO, Kento and Nakajima together as a heel group, trying to ruin All Japan.
It actually sounds like a fun idea to have and to go with.
He would love it. He's Hogan. He is Hogan.
I have a hard time believing. I've said it numerous times here on this show that anyone except for Glade right now is willing to go.
Kento Hogan. Like I said, everyone doubted Hogan originally, and look what happened. He was the third man. So we need Kento to have an NWO angle to complete his full transformation into Kento Hogan. That's the one thing he's missing at this point. So try to take over.
Let's call the team the TNWFMEB. That's not working for me, brother.
That could be his catchphrase. I mean, we won't use that as a name. That just doesn't roll off the tongue as much as in KWO, unfortunately. But it's an idea at least. Maybe not Kojima. I think that would be the most impactful thing. Like if they teamed up, like as a heel turn, that would shock the fans and be something everybody went nuts over. It wouldn't really make a lot of narrative sense, but still, you could do something. And I think he just needs. The long story short of all this is, I think that Kento needs a little bit of a change from where he's at right now, because as I said, it's not that he's not valuable in his current role, because he's a very easy guy, that he is like the flag bearer of All Japan. If they worked more with other companies, he'd be like the perfect guy. We've seen it all the time in those All Together shows. He constantly gets some of the biggest pops of any company guy. But I just think he's so insular to All Japan. You just can't do that much interesting with him right now. So they need to try to create something for him, to create something new and interesting that he could do. It doesn't have to be obviously taking over the company, but I just think they need to create something for him to give him as a character different avenues to do different things in the future, other than just what he's been doing.
They should really do something else with him.
KWO.
KWO.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, I think a GLEAT team would definitely make sense. A GLEAT team would make sense as the mystery team. Like you said, I don't think it'll be Nakajima, but I do think it's something to consider a GLEAT team coming in. What about B Block?
B Block.
You got Kento and Davey, Honda and Ayabe, Kuroshio and Seigo, Cyrus and Hartley, Suwama and Hideki, Yuma Aoyagi teaming with Fuminori Abe. Again, like I said, this is what happens when the musical chairs ends and you don't have a partner. It's like, throw Abe in there. And Hikaru Sato and Yuko Miyamoto, as you said, another kind of random but goofy indie team that they have here. So what do you think about B Block here?
Kento and Davey Boy Smith Jr. clearly jump off the page.
Yeah.
But then again, with Honda's year and Renayabe getting the push, it would really make sense for them to win the World Tag League and get a tag team title run, because right now it doesn't seem like the singles title run is in the books for them. But as a tag team title team, I can really see those two. Listen,
I like KWO better than the big double X or whatever they're trying to do with him and Davey Boy. I'll say that right now. But I agree with you. Honda and Ayabe, they're the team that should be the favorite to win the block and maybe even the tournament. Again, it depends on who the mystery team is. But if you're looking at it on paper, I would go with Honda and Ayabe. And that's another thing they need to do, because they had something with New Period earlier in the year, and they just broke them up, like, unceremoniously, even though they're in the same faction. They just kind of sent them away from each other.
Yeah.
Another like Honda thing that goes like could have been a heat making angle, and they just do it. Like nothing ever comes of it. But I think that they need to readjust Alpida and have these two be the tag guys. I think is a great fit for both of them. And they'd be a great logical successor to the Saitos as well.
Yes. They would.
Yeah. So that would be my pick in there. I think it should be a good tournament overall. I'm interested to see how Aoyagi and Abe fare together. I worry about Aoyagi leaning too much into the comedy stuff with him. But we'll see how it goes. And it could be great as well. Even though I don't think it might be the best for him, I think it'll still be a lot of fun. And if they work serious, then they're going to be really great. The mystery team should be fun. We always like mystery teams. Like, it gives us something to talk about on this show. And just as fans, all of us agree with that. And I'm super excited for the A block with Sekimoto and Mashimo and Musashi and Yoshioka. I definitely am super hyped about A block. That's like a great lineup. I think this is one of the better lineups, honestly, for the real world tag leagues.
It really is. It's the first time since 2016 that they've done 2 blocks. A 2-block system is automatically more interesting than a 1-block system.
True.
Because they always run into this issue that they don't want to do a final match with a round robin system in one block, but they kind of have to do to boost Kurken numbers. So in the end, it always comes down to a match that everybody can point to at the beginning of the tournament, even though they swerved us last year with Katsuhiko Nakajima and Hokuto Omori winning. But still, the 2-block system is much better.
Yeah, and I mean, that turned out great, which they immediately went away from again.
Yes. So before we go on quickly to this show here in Kurken Hall, drawing a sold-out house, it started out hot with Ryokyo Honda. Well, it actually started out with Actress Time, which was a nice enough match with Sakura Mizushima and Natsuki defeating Ayano Irie and Nene Arahata. Cutie special from Natsuki against Arahata. The actual opening match, the official opening match of the show, was Honda over Kento Miyahara, and I thought it was a really good match. That was helped by the hot crowd that wanted to see Honda beat Kento Miyahara, and also, of course, wanted to see Kento Miyahara. Miyahara wanted to win quickly, didn't get it done in the end, ran into Honda's final event for an easy story to tell, and a great win for Honda. Ren Ayabe defeated Rei Saito in a match where he tried to get over his new submission move, the Iron Maiden, Dylan. I am not sold on this right now.
Yeah. Just him in general, like, I'm really up and down on him, kind of. And this didn't help, I would say. The Death Roulette's kind of a cool move.
It is a cool move. It's a spinning version of the Falcon Arrow.
Yeah. And the Iron Maiden is a lesser finisher, but I appreciate it. It's not nearly as good as Anzai's secondary finisher.
He reminds me a lot of Okada trying to get submission moves over as well.
And that's another thing. I mean, his whole look is like Okada. Like, like that's basically what they did with him. It's like, okay, we, before the tournament, the Champion Carnival, they were just like, well, yeah, we like you. We want you to be a big deal, but you're so like bland. Like we need to give you a glow up. And they're like, Okada. Like, let's just give you all of Okada's stuff. And they were like, okay. And yeah, now that he's doing that with this Iron Maiden, we'll see if it gets over or not.
Yeah, for those of that have not seen it, it is supposed to be a kind of a hammerlock arm clutch dragon sleeper. I call it on Purlov, where he tries to get his arms crossed behind the guy's back, while at the same time applying a face lock. And that didn't really work out with Rei Saito, and neither did it with Ryokyo Honda. Honda really had to play heavily into pretending that he's fading in this lock. So there is a lot of work to do for Ren Ayabe. Otherwise, it was an okay match. And then the finals. Ren Ayabe over Honda in almost 25 minutes. What did you think about that?
It was one of the better matches of the tournament, but I mean, it's okay. Like, this tournament it's not necessary for you to have that epic finish, like it would be for the Champion Carnival per se. I think that what they went about was well done, more or less. I did think it was interesting where I really thought that the crowd really rode with Honda more than Ayabe here. They felt like it was maybe more his time to get a win. Which, I mean, it kind of makes sense. He's been around a lot longer, so they have a lot more of a connection with him. But Ayabe did fine. He's just a guy where he has this great size to him, this great height. But I wish that he would just unleash, man. Like, hit people hard.
Just
like
yeah.
So
like soft.
Exactly. Like, I wish somebody would just tell him that. Like, hey, like, enough with this like holding back crap. Like, hit people. Like, be the beast that we know you could be. Because then he would fit right in if he could be like that. And I think the hope is that perhaps he can grow into that and be more comfortable with himself. I don't think any of us have experience being at his height ultimately. So we cannot talk about. Yeah, exactly. Like, we can't.
And especially few people that have trained him have experience being his height.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like we none of us can really relate to that, and maybe perhaps the difficulties he has and worrying about maybe being too like hard. So I understand that, but he needs to just like let go a little bit. Just hit people. Like I want to see you be the big guy. That's his role. Like is the big guy. And I think that he's trying to go away from it with this sleeper, like dragon sleeper deal. Just give me a power guy, like give me power moves, big lariats, big boots. Like he's doing the drop kick with that soft clap and all that, trying to be like Okada. Like cut all that crap out. Just give me power guy stuff. Like I think that would be the best route for him. But the thing is, it's obvious he doesn't want to do that, and it doesn't really jive with him as of now. He's still young. He's still got a lot of room to grow. But I think if he can unlock that killer instinct in the ring, that is going to really elevate his game, I think, a lot. But I don't think he's there yet. And there's some parts of him that are good, and obviously he's going to get a ton of chances. Like we said, no one can relate to being his height, and that's why they want him to be a top star in the company. I just hope that he can really grow into the role a little bit more, because I don't think he's there yet. But it's not like I'm down on him. I just think he has some growing to do.
I think what the match benefited from and what helped it out tremendously in the eyes of the crowd was that it was such an open match, because you could have realistically believed that either guy would win this one, and that's why it was so exciting in the final minutes. I thought that either guy could be the one to put the other one away. That worked out really well, and in the end it was Ayabe. Good thing for him to stand there in the middle of the ring after a big win in a tournament in the main event of an All Japan show. That's good. That's really good. So hoping that it boosts his confidence to go harder on guys.
And what did we say about the other tournaments that we've seen recently with the G1 and N1? It felt like nobody got over, in the new. Here in this tournament, they actually did utilize it to try to get somebody over. So I think they need to be praised for that. At least they're trying stuff. And again, I think he's a fine option. I'm not really down on him with the circumstances right now. He can make some improvements for sure, but that doesn't mean I'm down on him winning at all. I think it's a good move, to be honest with you. What I said prior to this, it elevates a guy to be a worthy Triple Crown challenger, and that helps the depth overall for the heavyweight roster, which they need. So I think this tournament actually, it was mostly good. There were really not that any bad matches or anything like that. Anything that drags you down. It wasn't a spectacular in-ring tournament, but mostly good. You elevated two guys in Honda and Ayabe effectively. You gave them big wins, and you sold out the final show. The crowd's hot for people. It was a good tournament, and it really accomplished what they wanted. So I think you have to give it a thumbs up on that level, at least.
Yes. Two more talking points on All Japan Pro Wrestling. Zuwama is finally having his 20th anniversary match after he returned on this Korakuen Hall show. He is having this match on the 22nd of October, teaming with X against Hideki Suzuki and his former Team Destruction teammate, Shuji Kondo. Dylan, is X going to be the big dog like everybody presumes? Or when I'm looking at the cutout on the graphic that they have, that cutout looks a lot like Yoshitatsu, actually.
That would be hilarious. No, yeah, Ishikawa coming back is the obvious route for this ultimately. Yeah. And why not? Whatever. I mean, to be honest, they had already publicly Ishikawa kind of softened on them a little bit after things changed. Obviously the start of the year was just a huge mess. Everything got messed up with the actress girl stuff. Ruined a lot of people's minds, and unfortunately Ishikawa got caught. Had just had enough and was sick of that crap and had to leave. But I think now they're in a little bit of a better spot. Time heals all wounds, at the end of the day. And I think that there's no reason he wouldn't come back eventually. So bring back the big dog.
Bring him back.
Yeah. I mean, who else would it be, to be honest with you? Besides Yoshitatsu, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I threw Takumi Soya in there as a name because I mean he's gone for a long time, but I just saw Zuwama, I just saw Shuji Kondo, and I thought how great Team Destruction was back in the day.
Yeah, I just wish he could have gone so much further than he did. Takumi. Yeah. What about Abe?
Abe.
Yeah, I just want Abe to be the person, like, whenever you need a random spot, like they turn to Abe in every
position. when Zuwama beat Abe in 6 seconds?
I do remember that. But now it's time to relive that moment, but this time with Abe teaming with him. That's what I want Abe's role in All Japan to be. Just whenever there's a mystery person or like something you need, somebody's without a partner, an injury replacement, he needs to be in every possible situation, in my opinion. Like, no matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it makes sense. Abe is the one to call. But more likely the big dog will come back. And I think we'll all be happy if that happens.
You remember that Zuwama actually was tag team champions with Shotaro Ashino?
Yeah, runaway suplex.
Yeah.
Another angle. Now that was very bad because it led to Zuwama joining Voodoo Murders. Like how they.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Yes.
Yeah. So that was the worst of all, and it's a shame. I really liked them as a team, and that was another thing. Ashino got screwed on, but even before his injury, that should have led to a huge angle with Ashino and Suwama, and it just they had Suwama join Voodoo Murders. Like, why did they do that?
I have no good answer.
It's good that we all forgot about that whole period.
Let's go to the final talking point here that I have on All Japan Wrestling. They have 2 new rookies that debut. Same show as I just mentioned. It is Sakuto Terada and Taishin Nagao. They team up to debut against Dan Tamura and Ryo Inoue, probably 2 of the guys that they have been training under in the All Japan Dojo, I have to assume. So these guys, Terada was born on May 30, 2005, and he has a background in football, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, and grappling, while Nagao was born in 2003 and has a background in ice hockey and judo. And these 2 are right now, they are clearly junior heavyweights with their size and their weight. Terada is 186 centimeters tall, 65 kilogram, while Nagao is 146 centimeters and 75 kilogram. Clearly junior heavyweights. We'll see where they go with that. That's great that they have more rookies coming up.
How about an ice hockey background?
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah, that's pretty rare for a wrestler. Yeah. Like, you don't really hear about that a lot.
Oh, no.
Pretty cool. I wonder what position he played.
I don't know. That they didn't
mention. They didn't mention that. But I want to know, were you a goalie, or were you an enforcer, or were you a right wing? Like, what were you?
Yeah, will you be the defensive or an offensive wrestler?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, was he the defenseman? But if you're, the thing is, in the sport of hockey, if you're a defenseman, a lot of times you are the enforcer. Then, so you are the aggressor, even though you're technically the defenseman. The shooters are kind of the finesse players. The right wings or left wings and centers. They're kind of in, hockey. What is hockey except a smaller version of soccer on ice? Ultimately, you have a net, you have goalies, you have people trying to get stuff into the net. And there's hockey's a lot more physical than soccer, but still, that's why we have this man here to represent hockey in All Japan. And I think I just thought that was really cool. Obviously we don't know anything about these guys in terms of their wrestling, but it's always cool to see. I mean, look at we didn't really talk about this at all. This was unplanned, but I'm going to bring it up now. It doesn't really have anything to do with anything. But the 2 new guys New Japan brought in, they're rookies. There's a lot of upside, like even very early on, like these 2 new guys they were on the destruction, or like the Road to Destruction cards. They had their first matches. It was Nagai and Yasuda. These guys are really good. And like they're already, you could tell they're like really, really good.
They're really good. Yes.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be guys to watch. Again, it's so early, you can't, like, they're not even, like, you can't even speculate on people at this level. And obviously the All Japan guys, we haven't even had a match yet, but the crop of young talent continues to just grow. in all of Japanese wrestling, and it's great to see All Japan and Noah even got a new guy as well recently, which was always shocking when they get a new rookie coming in there.
The
So you're
president
seeing
even made a remark about that he's worried about the future because they have so few young guys coming up.
I really think, I mean, we're totally spinning off into a tangent now, but if it were me and I was running, especially Noah, like, they need the new talent more than any others. But this also applies to pretty much everybody. Outside, I think New Japan's pretty much healthy. Dragon Gate's healthy as well. But when it comes to Noah and All Japan especially, I think they would be wise to, like, not be, like, their method of getting people is clearly not effective, ultimately.
Really? Yeah.
I think they need to loosen up whatever standards they have for people and try to make wrestling seem cooler, I think, like, to get into. Like, instead of being like, you must live in a dojo and be submissive to your elders 24/7 and you must do 1 million sit-ups to get a knee pad. I think they need to drop all that bullcrap. If I was a company that was really struggling to get rookies, talk about all the great things you could do as a wrestler, like legendary moments. You could travel all over the country and all over the world even. You'll have the opportunity. You'll have fans, like adoring fans. Emphasize the cool parts of being a wrestler and try to draw people in and help them that way rather than being like this drill sergeant mentality of like break
That's
people down.
Point, Dylan.
Yeah.
It's a great point, but you know what would also help, probably? If they wouldn't treat their own rookies like geeks.
Well, that's not going to happen to Noah. But I don't think they advertise that though when they bring them in.
We'll treat you as a geek.
Yeah, you will never win any matches. Although
just look at what happened to Yuta Miyawaki again. He lost to Daga in this tag match in Shinjuku Face, and he got onto his knees to beg for a junior title match.
And I mean, listen, you could argue that's not as bad as what's going on with Inamura, who's on a second excursion again. Like, he's catching,
he's not getting down to his knees.
But even still, he'll get there. He's doing what Junta did already when he went to the second excursion. So when Inamura comes back, he will beg for title matches in the future. Junta is the innovator of Noah rookies right now. But again, like I said, they're not attracting enough people. They need to attract more people. And if you have to kind of open the doors a little bit and loosen up like your standards a little bit, then I think it's worth it to do that just to get some new blood and fresh blood in there. And again, I'm not just saying let anybody come in, but like make wrestling seem like something you would want to do and not you have to struggle for 5 years before you have anything. Like, try and make it seem cool. I don't think their marketing really emphasizes that enough. And I think if you're a company like All Japan and Noah, you need extra guys. Like, it's just that simple. You just said it. The president, he knows. So it's time to change some stuff up. And, let go of the sumo background for a little while. I mean, I don't know if that'll ever happen. I think they're too married to that idea of everything must come from legit, like the sumo style and blah, blah, blah. But I think that they would be wise to try to attract more young wrestlers to come in, or people that at least want to be wrestlers.
Yeah, with a company like Noah, they probably have some money in the background, but it's tough for smaller companies. When we go, for example, to Big Japan Pro Wrestling,
do they have more money? We didn't even talk about this. Jake on there said he was getting paid double by New Japan.
Yeah. But I mean, in comparison to like a company like Big Japan Pro Wrestling,
people have left and right. Nakajima, Yoshioka, like all these people are leaving. Yeah. The Cyberfight's probably tired of dumping money into this bullcrap company.
Maybe they are. But yeah. Still, I have to think that there is more money than with Big Japan Pro Wrestling.
Well, Big Japan's so irrelevant.
Exactly. That's a company where they have lost a significant crop of young guys to retirement because they found other jobs that are more profitable for them than professional wrestling. And that is something that companies also have to consider.
But just look at Kato. I mean, he had all the potential in the world, and then he comes in and gets his real estate license, there's nothing wrong with that at all in a life sense. But he should be a top star in wrestling, like one of the best young guys we all point to. And instead, he's not making enough money. I mean, that's something that can't be helped until the scene. That's a greater problem than any one move can fix, because the whole scene is hurting right now. Ultimately, that is a big issue, no doubt. And some of these changes I'm suggesting may not be even matter that much if it's like, hey, you can't work for full time here because we can't pay you that much. That's gonna throw wrenches into a lot of people's plans, ultimately. So that is a good point on your part. But it starts with it's going to take the whole scene coming up for that to change, I feel like.
Yeah, it really does. So my talking point that I wanted to transition to, because it has been a great transition from your part here, talking about the young talent, specifically here with Masatora Yasuda and Daiki Nagai with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I watched this DDT show from Friday, where they heavily promoted the young talent that they have on their roster. And I began thinking, who really has the best crop of talent under 30 in Japanese pro wrestling? And I listed the talent under 30 for All Japan Pro Wrestling, Dragon Gate, DDT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Pro Wrestling Noah. Spoilers, there's not a lot in Pro Wrestling Noah. We talked about some of them already with All Japan Pro Wrestling, but we'll quickly go through the guys that they have. Atsuki Aoyagi, 24 years old. Dan Tamura, 25. Hokuto Omori, 29. Ren Ayabe, 27. Ryukyu Honda, 24. Yuma Anzai, 25. Yuma Aoyagi, 28. That is one that really surprised me, because Yuma Aoyagi has been around for so long, and I had no idea that this guy was still under 30 years old. That's wild, definitely. Of course, they use other talent as well. For example, Fuminori Abe still is 29 years old. But of their core roster, of their signed roster, that's the guys that they have. That is 7 of 14. Yes, the official All Japan roster consists of 14 wrestlers, with a lot of, like I said, freelancers that they have on their roster. Soon they will have the aforementioned young guys, the rookies, Sakuto Terada and Taishin Nagao, getting the under 30 talent to 9 out of 16. So that is All Japan Pro Wrestling. Dragon Gate, they have Homare, who is 20 years old, who, by the way, had an incredible debut just at the beginning of September in Korakuen Hall against Masaki Mochizuki, and then turning to Zebrats. Hio is 27, Ishin 26, Jackie Kamai is 24, Kota Minura is 25, as well as Madoka Kikuta. Rita is 27 years old, Mochizuki Jr. 22, Ryoya Tanaka 25, Shun Skywalker, same age as Yuma Aoyagi, also under 30 years old. He has been around seemingly forever. Yoshiki Kato, I don't know what his future is. His status is very much up in the air when I'm listening to Open the Voice Gate. 27. And, Yuki Yoshioka, he just turned 30. So
he's disqualified. 11. He doesn't count. Get him out of here.
I got him out of there. I didn't count him. That makes
we like you.
Yeah. 11 out of 29 wrestlers that I counted. Much like All Japan, Dragon Gate also uses freelance talent, of course.
Right.
DDT. Now it gets interesting. We have Hideki Okatani, who is 23 years old. Kazuma Sumi, 21. Keigo Nakamura, 25. Mao, 27. Naomi Yoshimura, similar case as Yoshiki Kato, maybe, 29 years.
Yeah.
Rukia, 23. Takeshi Masada, 22. Toi, 24. Yuki Ino, 29. He is turning 30 very soon. Yuki Ishida is 25. Yuki Ueno, 29. Yuya Koku, 26. And of course, Yuni is 16 years old, born in 2008. Yuki Onaya just turned 30 in August. That makes it 12 out of 33 that I counted. New Japan.
He's fired. He doesn't count.
He's fired. Yes. Drilla Maloney, Gabe Kidd, Kevin Knight, and Master Watu are all 27 years old. Oscar Loibe, Renarita, 26 years. Roy Oiwa, 25. Shota Omino is also 27, much like Yuko Nakashima. Yuya Uemura still is 29 years old. Masatora Yasuda, you mentioned him, 25. And Daiki Nagai is 21, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Oleg Bolton still is considered a young guy on the roster, but he is 31 years old. So that makes it 12 out of over 60. The roster of New Japan Pro Wrestling is so weird with all the guys that wrestle for them in America only, or in Australia. 12 out of over 60.
You know, if you told me Bolton was 40, I probably wouldn't argue with you.
Yeah, exactly. So finally, Pro Wrestling Noah with the newest guy, Daiki Odashima, 23 years old. Junta Miyawaki is 27. Kai Fujimura, Dylan, he's already 29 years old and still a black type rookie.
So yeah, he's another one. I wouldn't be putting his stories up of him in the dojo or anything like that.
Yeah. Kaito Kiyomiya, 28. Taishi Osawa, 27. And Yu Owada is 24. That is 6 out of the official 28 that I counted. Of course, there's guys like Alpha Wolf or Dragon Bane who are 25 and 24. Yuto Kikuchi, who they just added, is 25. Jack Morris just turned 30. Yoshi Kinemura just turned 31. So that's the guys that I have. Of these 5 companies, Dylan, which company do you think has the best talent under 30?
Yes, I basically look at these as the big 5 of the men's companies, pretty much. Even though in the media they always shorten it to big 3, but on this show we also count DDT and Dragon Gate as well, as we should, because they were very good this year, especially DG. I just note that the one who will not be winning this award is you. Every single company, you broke your own rules and put people over 30 in.
No. I put those in that barely did not make the cut, and I did not count them in.
That's true, but you mentioned them and all of them on there. So and I don't mind because they're good. I mean, Oleg Bolton's awesome. I'm not gonna judge anyone for that, but still, I just wanted to note that it was very amusing. You look at these rosters here. I think it's so interesting. To me, I think unfortunately for a lot of these companies, DG has a big advantage in that they're less afraid to use even look at Homari. I mean, one match in and he feels like a generational star. At that point, a guy that could be a top star in the future. You see that upside right away. Someone like Mochizuki Jr., he's not he's not long into his career, but he feels like he could be a main eventer. So you get guys like that who are already in their early 20s and they already feel like they could threaten for big spots. You're not the way they do the system. New Japan and Noah and these guys are just not going to be able to do that. Anzai was like a super special case where he jumped forward so fast, and that's what made him so special, and he deserved it because he is special. Overall, though, when you look at this roster, I would still say, again, regardless of the reasons, I think DG, you look at the top guys, at least for me, like the top workers, like Tanaka, Mochizuki Jr., Kakuda, Homari, Jackie Kamei, like those guys are some of the best guys in the whole company. Shun, like nobody can fill his role in any company. Like he's a totally unique character. I just think they get the most out of their young talent compared to any other company. At DDT, I think they get a little bit more freedom. Again, kind of what I said, the traditionalism of the big 3, which I kind of railed against earlier. DDT and Dragon Gate are not beholden to that as much. If anything, their target audience appreciates younger male talent more. So that really allows them to be more flexible and use these guys in bigger spots. So I think those two, in terms of the impact they've made, DG would be 1 and DDT would be 2. But in terms of talent for the big 3, it's not fair because Noah and All Japan are just All Japan is just so small in general, but Noah, their talent list at this level of age is so small, so that hurts them compared to a New Japan, which has just more bodies that fits in here. I would go with Dragon Gate would be the best one. Long story short.
Yeah, it for me it would be between Dragon Gate and DDT as well. I'm leaning a bit more towards DDT right now when I just look at the talent that they have just from a pure in-ring standpoint. Okatani is out injured right now, but Okatani is extremely good. I'm high on Keigo Nakamura's run right now. Mao and Yuki Ueno are unquestionably two of the best wrestlers in DDT, and you might also, for Yuki Ueno, make the argument that he is one of the best wrestlers in Japan right now. Takeshi Masada had a great short run with the tag team title recently. He is extremely good. They are great talents. Where I see Dragon Gate getting the edge is what they get out of their young talent, what you just said. And that might give Dragon Gate the edge, but these are two companies that definitely benefit from not being a traditional Japanese wrestling company where they have very strict and set rules for their young talent. And that is something that the New Japan's president has been pointing out that is a problem for the company. And I feel like that All Japan Pro Wrestling is also softened up on it, not only with Yuma Anzai, but look at how quickly they elevated the Saito brothers, for example. I mean, they are guys that are well over 30, but they got elevated really quick to a level where they very soon main evented shows. So they have kind of softened up on that as well, which really only leaves us with New Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah with the real traditional method. Whereas I think New Japan Pro Wrestling they can allow themselves to still run that way. But Pro Wrestling Noah, man, I don't think that they can actually. So overall, DDT Dragon Gate, maybe Dragon Gate gets the edge because of what you said. But I really like the guys that DDT have, man.
Yeah, Ueno's definitely been an unquestionable success story this year. If you were to say who had the best star, like he was more valuable to his company than anybody like in Dragon Gate this year. Shun is, I mean, it's just a unique way. Like he's not the ace of the company or anything, but it's kind of like so much stuff runs through him and his character that he's really uncomparable to any other wrestler. Like never mind age. But Ueno in terms of accolades would be the best guy that we've seen on this list. Mao has had a good year, very improved, I would say. Just in terms of a traditional style wrestler, he's always been he's had that DDT crazy guy side to him, obviously, but I think he grew a lot as a wrestler. After that, I think that we see a lot of guys who have not reached their full potential ultimately, and maybe they will one day. I think you have high hopes for somebody like Koraku, who I think has all the talent to be a guy. Nakamura, I'm a huge fan of as well. Okatani, Yoshimura, it's kind of like I shelved them a little bit just because of their injuries, and Okatani will be back hopefully, and hopefully Yoshimura will as well. Yeah. But they're obviously very talented. I like all of these guys as wrestlers, really. Naya, I'm not a big fan of. I mean, he turned 30, so he's fired anyway, so it's fine. But regardless, I like all of these guys as wrestlers. I think the Dragon Gate guys, like they're just put in positions to do more. Like somebody like a Kakuta was the champion last year. And even the undercard guys like Rita, Tanaka, Mochi Jr., Jackie, again, they have a lot of big matches and moments especially in a tag team scenario with a lot of these guys.
She just got a shot at the Dreamgate title.
And totally, I did an amazing job. I thought like really stepped up. And he's a guy that I really didn't see it with for a while. I thought he struggled for a little while, but he's found himself. And I think, again, to praise Shun, I think his tag team with Shun Skywalker earlier in the year really was able to get him in the right path from where he was as the Bravegate champion. That really didn't work for me at all. But them in the tag league, they had a really good bully thing. And obviously Yamato, we didn't talk about it, but that Dragon Gate show had to be one of the best shows of the year, in my opinion, the one that he main evented for multiple reasons. And Homari was a huge part of that. And again, it's not like we suddenly declare Homari, yes, he is the one, he is the next superstar. He's only had one match. But they utilized him in a way where he felt like the next superstar. Everyone wanted him to be the leader of their faction, which is a great way.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're looking to get into Dragon Gate, that's the show you should seek out right now.
To me, and I said this at the time, this was the first show in literally years where this felt like Dragon Gate again to me. Like the Dragon Gate I knew, like when we watched it, 10, 15 years ago. I haven't got this feeling on any, and they've had a lot of great moments and great shows, don't get me wrong. But this was just different. It felt like how it used to be in DG. And the fans were into it. They were going crazy, big angles. The match at the end was great. Yamato, I've heard some people give some MVP love potentially with this Dreamgate run, and it's hard to argue they haven't stepped up big since he's, you compare where they were a few months ago with Monte as champion to now. It's hard to argue. When you see that show, they're cooking people. I'm telling you, DG, you got to watch that show. Like you're gonna love it, I promise. So yeah, they're doing big things. But DDT, great amount of young talent turned to it too, no doubt. I just think they're a little further away from reaching their potential, and hopefully we see some of these guys do that in the future. But Ueno, definitely unquestionably a success story. And Mao is one of the top stars of the company for sure. So all the companies have pros and cons. Even Noah, like it's a lesser amount, but Ozawa and Owada are top tier talents, as good as anybody in any of these other companies. Kaito, a great worker. Like you could say what you want. I mean, it's clear him as the top star is not doing anyone favors. Like I think that's obvious, and it's unfortunate, and we beat that drum to death. But nobody could doubt his skills at the end of the day. I remember there was a thing. I just looked it up right now. Credit to Voices of Wrestling for this. They did a 30 under 30 list a few months ago, actually, that did this. Kaito was the number one voted. I don't know the criteria for this. I know Gerard voted in this, but a lot of people did overall. Kaito was the number one guy, which is clearly insane that Anzai was not number one, ultimately, I would say. But you look at the Japanese list, because they had talent from America too on there. I mean, Takeshita was like number two, and obviously he's Japanese, but more of an AEW guy at this point. Kaito, Anzai, Shun was the third ranked Japanese guy. Shota Umino, I bet if they did a redo vote on this today, I wonder where he would vote. Yeah, exactly. I don't think he would stand very much. Utami, I think she's another one that has faced some struggles. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Yuma Aoyagi up there in the top 10, number 8, and very quick for the Japanese talent. Gabe Kidd, you mentioned him on your list as well. He was number 9. You've got Fuminori Abe, somehow under 30 on this. How is that possible on there? He must have turned 30 between that and now. I refuse to believe it, that he's that young. Yeah. Still 29, Fuminori Abe. God bless him, man. Azumi, number 19, a great worker in her own right for sure. Miyu Yamashita, Sorry should have been higher, I think, in hindsight. Yuki Ueno up next. He's another one. I think he's really proven himself with this reign, even though I didn't love how it ended. Even though I loved the match.
He should be in the position that Shota Umino got.
Yeah, switch those two and just kick Umino off the list as well. But no, Mochi Jr., Jackie Kame, Miyu Watanabe, we're going to talk about her in a second. Ryohei Oiwa and Mao, finishing up 27, 28, 29. So a lot of Japanese talent here. It's an interesting list when you look at all of these guys and girls on that list. We didn't even bring them up. The Joshi ranks are kind of a different story.
Yeah,
but still, you look at these, rankings, and they're pretty, strong overall. It shows you the level of talent we've got right now in these companies. But hopefully with the Noah guys coming back, Owada and Ozawa and these guys, if they get more of a push, it's that like I said, Dragon Gate guys and DDT to a similar extent, a lesser extent though, they get the benefit of being pushed better, because that benefits you being younger, whereas the other ones feel like the big three, the traditionalist companies, they want you to have a journey, take years for the fans to see you grow from the black tights guy to whatever you grow into, and you have to overcome. So I think that's an important part, and it's kind of unfair to compare them in that sense. But still, fact of the matter, you look at these names you've listed, there's a great amount of talent in Japanese pro wrestling for the young talent, and I think that's something we all have to be happy about. And it's very cool to see where they'll go in the future.
I mean, even look at New Japan Pro Wrestling. They got Roy Oiwa back. Unquestionably one of their most talented, if not the most talented, under 30 wrestlers that they have. I'm wondering, too, where Oscar Leube and Yuto Nakashima will be slotted once they return. Those two are extremely good as well. You have Yuya Uemura, who had a very good run in the G1 Climax and very unfortunately got injured.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of talent there that could make the jump to a bigger position, and they need that. So New Japan Pro Wrestling will be very interesting as well.
Even Gabe Kidd as well.
Yeah,
has got
right,
a lot of buzz. Let me ask you this. So I was going to ask you, like, of the companies, if you had to pick one guy from these companies to like bank on, like, who would you pick?
Mochi Jr.
I would pick Anzai. Yeah. Like Mochi Jr. is great though. Like I said, and he's a little bit younger too. He's got all the potential in the world. I think as a worker, he's just like scratching the surface. Like, once he gets in those big matches, like I said, that's the thing. He's been great and not really had even big match opportunities as much as some people in terms of singles. So once he gets those,
in his singles opportunities, and those were usually those Bravegate third position matches.
Yeah.
He was extremely good in those.
Oh yeah, what about his match with his dad a couple of months ago? That match was unbelievably great. So yeah, good pick on your part. Anzai I think will be the biggest star. I think he's a totally unique talent. But like all of these guys too, like you could go with a lot of different talents that you could really put your finger on and be like, hey, this guy like could be something really special going forward. We talk about the DDT guys, Mao and Ueno. So New Japan, Anyway, like let's do it by company. If you were going to a New Japan alone, who would be the one you point to here?
Oiwa.
Me too. Yeah, like I said, we totally agree on that. Yeah. And see, the other ones, they kind of like slotted people already, with all like Anzai's already the main event guy, Kaito's already the main guy, and Noah. DDT Ueno has got the most. I mean, you could foresee Mao like taking over at some point at DDT.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm really looking at Takeshi Masada.
Oh yeah, he's great. I didn't love his run with Brooks actually as a tag team, but he's a talented guy. Very young, got a great look, really talented wrestler. I definitely believe in him. I just didn't think their team was that great overall, especially coming off of the Burning run. I thought it was kind of a step back for those titles, but we'll see. I mean, it was a step back losing as well, so it's like either one's fine. But Masada's great, no doubt. He's definitely somebody you could point to long term for sure. Because once he enters his prime, 10 years from now, he's going to be 32 and Ueno's going to be 39. So that's going to be a big difference there. And so from long term, yeah, I think Masada is the pick as well. So yeah, I totally agree, pretty much.
We left out Pro Wrestling Noah. In theory, it has to be Taishi Osawa.
Yeah.
Because Kaito is already there,
yeah.
But it's Noah.
But they give him a chance, though, That's the thing. Like, you can't have faith in that right now. But, I mean, as a talent, I love him. Owada I really like as well. But Ozawa's got more size to him, and I think there's there's going to be more opportunities for him because of that than Owada. It's just going to be interesting to see where they go. In general, and hopefully they, above all others, listen to my advice and try to bring in new people by whatever means they can.
All right. We've been really going along with All Japan Pro Wrestling, but I want to pick up on your statement that it's really hard, or it's different when you go to Joshi Wrestling because lots of Joshi wrestlers start so early. We had a show just today with TJPW's Wrestle Princess 5 from the Makuhari Messe International Exhibition Hall 6. 756 fans. Okay number. Probably not what they expected after putting Ryo Mizunami in the main event, I guess. The top of the card had 3 title matches. The first of which was Yuki Arai, 26 years old, defeat Moka Miyamoto in another defense of the International Princess title. That's the 5th defense for her. In a match that I thought was okay. It was unfortunate because I really thought that Moka Miyamoto would have a chance to win the title here. I kind of felt that, but not really at any point of the match did they bring across that there would be actually a chance. So to me this kind of fell flat. It got 2 ratings of 7 and 8. I don't think that the match was that strong.
Oh.
I don't know where they're going with that, actually, with that title run.
So yeah, I'll briefly run through the undercard. I know you didn't watch it. I'll just give I did watch it. First of all, this is a very poor number. For their biggest, they're one of their biggest shows of the year, and it's just the trend that they've had coming in. That was a big talking point heading into the show, was how there really wasn't any buzz at all for this company, even heading into their biggest show. I appreciate that they tried to reach out and branch out more towards English-speaking fans across the world. I think that's a fine strategy. But this year has not been it for this company. There's no way, if you're fair, if you're just a fan and you enjoy their product, that's totally fine. Nobody's going to criticize you for that. But if you want to be objective and look at the company where it's at, this has not been a good year at all for them. And it's unfortunate because this was really supposed to be the coronation of their new generation. And you remember the show in March where they had all of them with the titles, all the new generation with the belts. And it just hasn't worked at all, unfortunately. But I kind of, you can make that argument about all the Joshi companies that have been down this year. All the companies, period, have been down this year in a lot of ways. So it's not just them, but them in particular have taken a big drop, I would say, in terms of interest, because there really wasn't a lot. It felt like people kind of fought to build it artificially heading into the show, try to build it up. And even me, I talked about it a little bit on Twitter just because I want there to be good in this Joshi scene and even in Tokyo Joshi Pro. But anyway, Haru Kazushiro versus Runa Okubo. It was okay, opener, nothing bad or anything like that. But nothing good either, I would say. Just a fine opener, very average. Himawari, Kaya Toribami, and Yoshiko Hasegawa versus Chika Nanase, Kira Summer, and Uta Takami. Really like Kira Summer. Takami is very green and new, but she's all right. Kaya was the one that stood out the most to me. Toribami, she should have been on a better match than this. She deserved a lot better. And Kira Summer will get there for sure, and she's a very good foreigner. Talent to have, but not a great match, but they stood out on their respective teams. Kakiro Sekiguchi and Mahiro Kiryu versus Toga and Wakana Uehara. It's kind of weird because Uehara is one of their most viral wrestlers, I feel like always tons of fans on Twitter and all of that. But it's fine. They gave Sekiguchi and Kiryu the win here. Not a great match, but it was a fun little angle with Kakiro and Kiryu. Ram Kaichar.
I like that they added Sekiguchi and Hasegawa to the roster.
Yeah, kind of bring in, and that's something I think they've needed to kind of bring more outside talent in than just the usual roster. So I like that they have taken that to heart, and I don't mean the foreign talent that they choose to bring in recently. Ram Kaicho and Raku. A total comedy match. Buyer beware if you're not into this whole deal. But if you like goofy comedic craziness and, falling asleep and eating ice cream and all that stuff, this is your kind of match. Overall. Aja Kong, Max the Impaler, Palm Harajuku versus Rika Tatsumi, Shino Suzuki, and Yuki Aino. The actual Yuki Aino match on the show. They did an angle with the referee who was a member of SKE 48. And a lot of it was just goofy stuff with Palm. Again, if you like the comedy stylings of this kind of stuff, then it'll be for you. I personally would have liked to have seen Rika Tatsumi at a better match than this. Emi Sakura versus Shoko Nakajima, you could easily argue this was the best match on the whole show. I would say Sakura totally knew her role in this match and helped bring the absolute most out of Shoko Nakajima here, which I think Nakajima is one of those where if she's motivated, her skill level is very high. There are times when she's not motivated where it doesn't come through.
I'm sure she'll be highly motivated on October 6th because we have Mio Watanabe and Mio Yamashita against Shoko Nakashima and Miko Satomura.
Yeah, that'll be a big match, especially for her. I was surprised to see the finish, but still, it was a great match. Emi Sakura and Shoko deserve a ton of credit. They really did a great job on the show. Vinny and Yuki Kamifuku versus Mizuki and the debuting Zaya Xiao. They did a fine match. I thought Zaya did a good job. She obviously was a WWE wrestler. That's been her whole career. And the fact that we've already seen her pop up on the Indies, in TNA, and now here, it shows you that she at least wants it. And that's something that's very cool. And I like her. Like I'm a fan of hers in general. Very cool to see a Chinese wrestler on here. And she did a very good job in this match, I thought. It wasn't a great match, if we're being honest, all around. It's not just her. It's just it just wasn't meant to steal the show, but it was a good spotlight for Zaya, and I thought it was effective for a mid-card match. Arai and Mocha, kind of catching up to you now. I didn't like this match at all, personally. I just think Arai is virtually unwatchable for me. And I know that sounds harsh, but there are some people who don't need to be wrestlers. And she's trying. I will give her that. It's unquestionable that she is not being lazy about it. But this is an idol trying to be a wrestler. And it's very, very painfully obvious, in my opinion, in all of her matches. Not just this one. And I didn't enjoy this, even though I like Mocha a lot. But she is a legit idol. A lot of their fans like her a lot. I can understand why they push her. But for me, bystanding, it's not that I'm not a fan or a non-fan. Really, I'm just somebody who watches. For me, she does not I don't enjoy her wrestling ultimately, and I think she's got a long way to go to improve, and especially in terms of her strikes and things like that. But Miyamoto I like a lot, but the match was not working for me ultimately. But I'm glad some people liked it on Cage Match.
Yeah.
Anyway, what did you think? And you kind of said your piece on that already.
Yeah.
What about the tag title match?
First of all, I'm higher than you on Yuki Arai, and that's not hard. I think she's really trying. But we've seen in this title run that there is clear limitations to what she can do, and she has had good opponents in this title run. That's the last two were two of the best young wrestlers that they have, with Arisu Endo and Mukomi Yamamoto. And it's an okay run, but she's not improving on the level that they probably want her to. Yeah, the tag team title match. Two of the young talent that they promoted in March winning the tag team title, and here they got to face the big star tag team of Miyu Yamashita and Maki Ito, and I thought the match was very, very good, very exciting, and for me, it really lived by the fear of Daisy Monkey losing the match, and ultimately that, of course, happened. I thought that the final minutes were extremely strong, which the match ended also almost with the camel clutch from Arisu Endo. There was a great moment where she almost had Yamashita fade away, but then Maki Ito came in and they held hands, and Yamashita had new strength. That was a cute moment.
Yeah.
But overall, of course, you said it right, that business-wise they have not been great. So I can understand why they will go back to what they know. The question here, though, is how much of Maki Ito and Yamashita will they really have in the upcoming months? Because of their commitments in the United States. So to me, this outcome is highly questionable. And I said it on Twitter, this was a match for me that Endo and Suzume had to win if you are serious about these two becoming stars in this company. It hasn't worked out by now, maybe, but this was the match that they needed. And I'm phrasing it right now, that they needed to win to come to this level eventually.
First of all, I thought the match, this is up there with the Sakura and Shoko match as match of the night for me. I thought it was better than the main event, personally.
Clearly, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like that. Like the match is very good, very professional match. Daisy and Monkey are two of the best workers. Like, you know, honestly, like I'm not really a personal, like I don't see a lot in this roster, like in terms of great wrestling, like up and down. And they're two of the ones that bring it. And obviously Yamashita as well. So I was happy to see all these people wrestle together. The stuff with the holding the hands and all that, I personally thought that was kind of cheesy, to be honest with you. But I get it. Like you can forgive it in a company like this, you know. Ultimately, like exactly. in an idol company, of course, you're going to do stuff like that.
That's why I didn't call it a great moment. It was a cute moment for this company.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like for the context of what happened, I'm with it. But it's not something that I just thought it was a little cheesy. Is all. But still, the wrestling was great between all four. I will propose this to you. I personally would have had Daisy Monkey win because they're, I think, two of the best, if not the two best in the company. But what if they want one or both of these? I personally think they see more in Suzume. I like Endo better, personally, like of the two, if it were me. Mm-hmm. But I think they see more in Suzume. If she were to win the belt from Yuki Arai, per se, would that make up for this? Try to split them off into singles directions and try to use them in that role.
It would make up for it. In a way, it would. But if you want to elevate both of them, this was the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
So it would kind of make up for Suzume, but where is Arisu Endo going?
It could be Endo. It's not set in stone. Like I said, I just personally get the vibe that they see more in Suzume. But I would love to see Endo get it. But still, your point stands true. Like whoever gets it, you know, let's say Suzume won it. Where would Endo go? That's accurate. The problem is that, I mean, that's the story of this whole company. Like, how long did it take even Watanabe to get the belt? And how many years did we have to go with people screaming that she should have won something or another?
Right.
Ultimately. So it's kind of how they just leaned back into what they know. Kind of like what you said at the start here. And I don't really, again, like this ultimately has not worked. Like this, like how they've gone things this year. I really don't blame them for having a shot in the arm. Or trying to have a shot in the arm with these two, like two of your longest tenured stars in a bigger role. I mean, I would have had Daisy Monkey win too, but I don't. It's not like I think this made this huge difference one way or the other. To be honest, like you know, like if they want to go back to him, they proved the Watanabe. And to be honest, you could argue her reign as champion not doing very well is as a result of what happened like the last couple of years. If they had pulled the trigger when they should have, maybe we would be in a different spot now. So I mean that really advocates for Daisy Monkey winning. But I understand why they would try a shot in the arm. I mean, and you could, Mizunami was not that, you know, and these two probably aren't either, to be honest. But I could see maybe why. But I would have had Daisy Monkey win. It was still the wrong call for sure, but I just feel like they're at a point where it's just like, hey, we got to try something. Like, we can't just do the same stuff over and over. We have to try to make some kind of change on this card.
Well, it was not the change that I hoped for.
And I fear the end game of all this will be Arai winning the main belt, like the POB title. You know, I think they just see like they put a lot of eggs in her basket.
Yeah, they do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so she wasn't gonna lose, and Watanabe wasn't gonna lose. So like they just ran out of space. Somebody had to lose, and it unfortunately was Daisy Monkey.
Very unfortunate, like I said. Yeah.
Yes.
Main event. I thought the match was built well. The idea, of course, was that Ryo Mizunami is much more powerful than Mio Watanabe. They had faced before. So Watanabe had to overcome all the power that Mizunami brings and eventually try to suplex her on her own, which she in the end did. She did her usual spots with the giant swing and the Argentine backbreaker. She had to use the teardrop 3 times in the end to put away Ryo Mizunami, which I did not like at all.
Yeah.
Because it made her look really inferior to Ryo Mizunami, and the goal of a match like that should be that she looks inferior in the beginning, but throughout the match, gains control over the opponent that she has, so that in the end she can look strong overcoming Mizunami. But man, using 3 of her finishers on Mizunami to overcome this wrestler, I would not have done that. They have been pushing Mizunami very strongly. She even has a win over the International Princess Champion in the tournament, and maybe something is coming out of that. We don't know. Right now, it's not. So structurally, I would say was a well-structured match, but with the flaw of the finish, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I just think like this to me felt like a really okay. So Mizunami, I'm a big fan of hers. Avid Rival was one of my favorite tag teams of the 2010s, and she was obviously a big part of that. I think she was a really weak challenger, to be honest. Like there was no interest in me of her winning this title. Like at least for me, I thought for sure Watanabe was going to win this. Especially after they had already done the job with Daisy Monkey earlier. I was like, they're not going to switch both titles. Like era. But I never believed it in the first place. So the story they performed was very well done, I thought. I like what they wanted to do was really well done. Watanabe is so good as a wrestler. I think she's got so much energy, so much physical charisma, where she works as the power wrestler against a lot of the smaller roster in TJP, but also she works as a great underdog in a situation like this versus Aniki. So you look good no matter what with her. She's a great talent, a great wrestler, and a great champion. The circumstances, and again, they failed her years ago more than any. You cannot put a criticism at her for whatever's going on in this company because she's done the best she could, and she did the best she could in this match. To me, Mizunami was not a great or particularly interesting opponent, and I think that kind of held the match down a little bit. But it was still good. I would go like a 7 out of 10 on this, in the cage match world of ratings.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. But Watanabe did a fantastic job, I thought. I agree with you about the teardrops over and over. I thought it was a little much. Again, like they tried with Mizunami, but I just don't think she's at that level right now where she's like this unstoppable. Like if it was Sorry that this match was against and that happened, I would like it a lot better. Like that would make a lot more sense to me than Mizunami. So I don't think it worked in the context of the show, but still she did great at it. And Mizunami's a very talented worker and did a good job in her role. I just think that again, the interest for me as a challenger was not there.
It's ultimately it, and that is what I guess caused the number here too. Not a good year for TJPW so far.
Yeah, I mean it's a down year for a lot of promotions, but they're one of the ones that I think have been hit the hardest. They've taken a big drop, I would say, from where they were a few years ago. But they're trying. Like I appreciate the effort. You look at the show. They brought in Emi Sakura in a major match. Zaya they brought in like in a major match. All 3 title matches were against people they had built. Mocha was kind of her coming of age story going for the princess title. The top stars were in the tag match. You had the outsider facing your babyface champion in the main event. The effort has been there with this, and I thought they delivered a good enough show. It's nothing that'll threaten my show of the year, but I thought it was a good show overall. The last 2 title matches delivered. I enjoyed most of the mid-card well enough. The comedy didn't really work for me in some of the undercard matches, but then you had the Emi and Shoko match, which I thought was great. So, like, this was a show with much more good on it than bad. Where they go from here, it's tough. Like, how are they going to continue this Watanabe reign? Like, as it is, I think they're going to have to really work to, like, get legit challengers for her to make this title reign interesting.
Yes, agreed with that.
I would do Emi Sakura versus her.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, like it's built up perfectly with her, and maybe with Mako coming in, they could do something as well with her.
Oh, that would be perfect for her to have Emi and Mako.
Yeah.
I don't see it, but would be great.
Yeah, especially not Mako. It's gonna be tough.
Yes.
But yeah.
All right. So one final talking point we have is Marigold and their Dreamstar Grand Prix 2024. As it stands right now, we have two blocks that look like this. The Dream League. We have Nori on top with 8 points, Utami Hayashishita and Koki Amare with 6, Mirai and Nagisa Nosaki with 5, Natsumi Shozuki and Victoria Suzuki have 3 points, and Chika Goto still is winless. Star League, Nanae Takahashi 8, Miko Aono and Sari with 7 each, and they are on leveled fields because they had the time limit draw. Bozilla and Mai Sakurai both have 6 points. Bozilla had a loss against Sakurai, which puts Sakurai on top here. Chiaki has 2 points with Misa Matsui and Kisuna Tanaka still out with 0 points. Yeah, Dylan. The final show that I have seen, I followed the tournament. It has been an alright tournament, I would say. I've seen some matches that I liked. For example, Utami Hayashishita against Victoria Suzuki I really liked. I specifically would tell you to watch the Kirkenhall show from the 16th of September because it is a really nice digest of the Marigold roster right now. And quality-wise, it had some of the best matches. The main event with Mirai and Utami, not so much, but the Sari and Miko Aono match with a time limit draw, as well as Nori and Natsumi Shozuki I really liked. So there was good matches on that card. Where do you stand on Marigold's roster right now and the tournament itself?
They've really lost a lot of buzz, like since their start. I would say
that's unquestionable. Yeah,
that's another thing that like kind of spurred a lot of the discourse online, which is kind of funny in hindsight because the show they talked about was the bad Korakuen number they did, which was still like basically the same as Tokyo Joshi Pro's biggest show of the year for this random Korakuen tournament show. There's been some good matches. I mean, they have some good talent, but a lot of this roster is just not very good ultimately. like they're just green and people that have a long way to go ultimately. I liked one of the stars that 2 people have stood out to me in this tournament. The first, I think clearly the MVP in my opinion, is Nanae Takahashi. Like she's gotten the best out of literally everybody, and she's the one person that has an aura to her where I think a lot of what they did with Mirai and Utami, who are ideally your big stars coming from Stardom, I don't think they've handled them very well at all. And even Bozilla, I think they've made some mistakes with for sure. She came in like great, like to start, and I don't think they protect.
She had a very early loss. That was much too early to have that loss for that the title that Ono has right now, right?
That was a big mistake. I said that at the time. People pushed back for me on it. There's no way Bozilla should have lost under any circumstance. She should be undefeated right now. Like the wall that people are trying to overcome. And in this tournament, she's taken loss. I mean, they've tried to protect her well enough.
Yeah.
But you've lost it. You cannot give the first loss back. Like, at the end of the day, and you blew it like right away. And I think they've lost it. And Utami, like no aura, in my opinion, like in this company. I don't know what's going on. And they've desperately tried to turn that into a storyline with people calling her out for it, which I think is a well enough move that you could have. But she just really struggled for me in this tournament. I haven't been a big fan of any of her matches, I would say. Mirai, I remember at the start of the company, she was getting huge reactions. People were super into her. And then they did all that draw stuff with Aono. And it's like, she's literally just a person on the roster. Like, you slotted her unnecessarily. Like, there's a lot of mistakes were made, in my opinion. I think it's not just my opinion. The fans are telling us that I was right about these things. But that said, I will say with Mirai, her match versus Nori, who is my other standout player.
Oh, she's great. Oh, man.
Yeah, Nori has done a fantastic job. Great get. Somebody, I still remember Nori Date in Ice Ribbon all those years ago with her sisters. And to see her like magically return, man, you love to see it. And she's done such a great job in so many of her matches. She's one of the ones that, because a lot of these people that are on this roster are they're green. She does not have a problem holding back. She will not hold back on people. She will strike, and she will do good things with it. So I really liked Mirai versus Nori from the first night. That was really good. I thought, it's a match worth watching. Nanai and Misa Matsui was one of the best matches of the tournament, in my opinion, from night 2. I thought that was great. The Mai Sakurai push that they've given in this tournament, because that's been one of the resounding stories. She's in a lot of these main events. Mm-hmm. She got the win over Bozilla in there.
Yeah, and that was not a good way to give her the win because of what we just said, because Bozilla had lost to Aono before that, and having Mai Sakurai barely win by countout over Bozilla was not the big win that they probably wanted it to look like.
And then Bozilla lost again right away to Nanai. So, it is what it is. But they've been trying their best with Sakurai. She's been one of the protagonists of this tournament and is one of the leaders of the blocks at this point. She is the leader, to be honest with you, at this point. So I personally am not a huge fan of hers, like in ring. I think that she's a much better character worker that we saw in Stardom more so than an in-ring technician. But I like that they're at least making efforts, and they have to. Like it's like they have to make efforts with these people to try to get them over at the end of the day. And I think they've done a decent job. I think Matsui has been one of the standouts as well. I liked her matches. I thought she stood out against Nanai and Sari. I like what she's put down. Aono, very reliable, good worker. Her with Sari, like you said, one of the best matches of the tournament so far. I really like that. Shozuki, very, reliable. I wouldn't say great, but very reliable. And Mirai, again, another one that I would say is reliable would be Mirai. And she's had a little bit stronger of a tournament. I thought her match versus Amore the latest show was like the best Koki Amore match. Like that felt like a match that really actually elevated somebody, not just in the kayfabe sense, but how she worked. I thought she really got to grow in that match versus Mirai as well. So I like that well enough. It's just a mix of a roster, and I think we have to kind of keep our expectations in check when you look at a lot of the people. And there's definitely a lot I would have personally done differently leading into this from a booking standpoint. But it'll all be determined by the final, like how that comes across, who wins, like how they set things up or who gets over. Like, however that goes will be the determining factor of this tournament ultimately, because they're not at a point where it's bad. There's been some matches that have been a little bit of a struggle for me. I'm not going to lie. But there's been some good stuff too. Not a lot of great. I don't know if I'd say any was that great. But there's been some that were really good. The final, what they do with it. Will they use this to elevate somebody? Or will they go with the tried and true name to challenge Sari? And hopefully the final will be an epic match that you would need.
What are you looking at for the final right now?
Before the tournament, I predicted Mirai and Bozilla as the final. No, I picked Utami and Bozilla actually as my final. But I think I'm leaning more towards Mirai as the tournament goes around. But I do have to admit, I picked Utami first. I have to be honest with people. But I'm leaning more towards Mirai as time goes along. But I mean, Utami's right up there. I think it would be fine. I kind of said that before. It's like whoever loses with Utami and Mirai would be the favorite to win the block. And I mean, Utami did lose to Mirai, so I guess Utami might win. And they've given her the story of her trying to get her swag back, pretty much. Everyone's kind of been like, hey, why are you like this now?
I think Utami is the one in Dream League.
Yeah, they're both the same.
See Bozilla eliminating Sari.
Yeah.
In the final night.
Yep.
And Miko Aono beating Nanai Takahashi.
Yeah, makes perfect sense, I would say.
So
I think Bozilla's. Yeah. No, Bozilla's definitely beating Sari in the final. I would be stunned if that doesn't happen because they protected Sari great. Sari is the one person that really has that. Like, she feels like the one in this company. I think they've done. That's the one thing I will say they've done a great job, and she herself deserves a lot of credit too for that. Okay. She feels like the top star, unquestionably, of this tournament. And when somebody beats her, that's going to be a huge deal. Ultimately. And I think that will give Bozilla a bump when they do that, presumably. I don't know if Nanai could go either way, but I do think Aono will win. I think Aono will probably knock Nanai out. They'd play spoiler at the end. But I would have Bozilla versus Utami in the final. We'll see. They may go with Mirai. I think. Well, I will say this: whoever advances from that block, whether it's Utami or Mirai, will win the tournament. Like, I don't think they're going to give it to Bozilla if she already beat Sari to win. Like, I don't think they're going to want to face her again right away. I think they'll want to build a challenger, because I don't know. That's the thing with Sari right now. She's so good. It's hard to imagine any of these other ones taking the belt from her. They really have to build people up, I think, to get to that point. And hopefully they can through this tournament. And maybe my opinion will change afterwards, and we can see them take a step up again. So I'm looking forward to it. I think the final will be very interesting and great to follow. But unfortunately, I think the company itself, and I will admit, I was more down on the company than a lot of people. Even with those major shows, I kind of felt like something was just off with a lot of their decisions and a lot of how the shows went. Even then, I know a lot of people loved their major shows, the first opening show and the Sumo Hall show. I was not as in love with those as a lot of people. So maybe if you could take those criticisms with a bit of a grain of salt if you already liked it a lot more than me. I will admit that as well.
But, yep, shed a light on TJPW and Marigold for the end of the show. I really liked that we got to that. And yeah, those were the topics that I was looking for today. So worked out great, Dylan.
A lot of talk about the young wrestlers as well early on. Very cool. Great idea on your part as well. I love these kind of specialty topics that we do. It kind of gets us to deep dive things a little bit. So I really enjoyed that. Hopefully all you guys listening did too out there. As always, we really appreciate
who is
you
your
guys.
favorite wrestler under 30?
Yeah. Message us on Twitter at the Eastern Lariat or on the YouTube videos. We always get good comments on there as well. I like the YouTube community we built is getting kind of good. So I like the comments from everybody on there. Like, people are not afraid to comment on the videos, so I like that. But we even on Twitter, please tell us what you think, because I think it is it's a talked about topic all year. Like I said, I just brought up that 30 under 30 list. It's something that's been on everybody's minds. And I think it's really good that we've seen it, and who knows, like on the latest video we had, basically somehow through our comments about the Jake Lee thing, it turned into Jake Lee saving Japan in our comments section, which I love our listeners for that as well, that we did get to go there. And I do believe he is a heroic figure as well. So hopefully he can get well from his injury soon and come back and be the hero that we all need in this life.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Wow. All right, Dylan. That's been it.
Yes.
I want to thank you for doing that once again after a long shift that you had. So
nobody cares about that.
But I want to tell the people that you have worked on this wonderful fine Sunday while I have not, and we are still here doing this show. So thank you, Dylan, for making time for it.
This is anything but work to me. Like I said, this is the highlight of my week, not something that's difficult for me.
No, it's not difficult. It's just, still though, investing time is great.
Always worth it for the Eastern Lariat family.
Always worth it. So this has been it for the show this time. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye.
Sayonara.